Hey guys, this is Coach Bricks,
Coach James.
and we're here with Game Changers by Explosive Sports Performance. And today we want to talk about in-season training. All right, because this is a big topic that I think a lot of athletes, especially at the junior high and high school level, really miss when it comes to training. They think, all right, I work so hard in the off season, but then it comes time to the season, I don't have time. That's what everybody says. I don't have time. Unfortunately, for a lot of coaches, they coach way too much. I mean, if you're having 2.5 hour practice, there's something wrong when it comes to the season. But that's a whole other topic. But a lot of these athletes make excuses that they don't have time. But what we're seeing is typically most athletes get hurt at the beginning of a season if they're not ready to go. And later on in the season when the body starts to break down, because all that work that they did starts to dissipate over time because they're not taking care of their strength, they're not taking care of the weaknesses that they took care of in the off season. So how can athletes, and also for parents, how can they make sure that they get at least, a certain number of sessions in during their season?
I think it's just the basic understanding that they see that they're doing all this work in the off season, and I think they're at the point that they're going to be at, they need to sustain for the rest of the season, and they don't see that, they're going to break down throughout the season. They just think that that's what is meant to happen in the season. It's just that common misconception that I think people think that they don't need it during the season. And again, this excuses of, I don't have enough time, I'm too tired, I have school, I have practices, I have games. And the parents also jumping in with the excuses of, we have to drive, we're coming from practice, we got to get home and do all this stuff. And then, we have it with our athletes in the morning that are consistent and they understand that they're constantly coming in year round regardless of that, and they rarely have problems throughout the season because they understand what they need to do throughout the season.
Yeah, and I think one of the key points to the whole thing is if you do start to have something come on, like say, hey, my ankle's starting to hurt, my knee's starting to hurt, you can nip that in the bud. When you're not engaged in strength training, then all of a sudden you have to either, you go too far and you hurt yourself, and then you have to sit out weeks, or you then try to implement a strength program midway during the season after taking time off, and then all of a sudden you're sore, and then you blame it on the strength program. That's the reason you're sore. No, you're sore because you didn't take care of your body. You have to make sure we make that distinction. But one of the things that we see, and you mentioned it earlier, was athletes coming earlier. So what would you recommend to an athlete, say they're playing a fall sport, all right? How many times a week, how long should they be in there per session, and what should they focus on?
Right now I've been telling a lot of parents, it only has to be 1 day a week. Ideally you want 2 or 3 days a week to see the most progress and not see that loss in strength and overall speed and agility performance. And typically it's only an hour. We're not doing heavy lifting. It's mainly looking to maintain and focus on a lot of that sport specific movement and what they're going to be doing in a game and what their sport actually requires them to do.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the keys is making sure that you find out what the sport requirements are, and then also you want to make sure that you're focused on where the weakness is. So typically James and I will always do an assessment with the athletes, make sure that when we design the program, we know where they need to work on. Yes, we know the domain of the sport, what they want to work on, but also what we see they need to work on. Because that's the lead indicator that's going to be, all right, if something's going to happen, that's going to break down, So that's one of the key areas is to make sure. I have athletes to go off to college. Now, remember in college, they lift in the season too. But they'll actually contact me and say, what else can I do? Because they're not focusing on the weaknesses that you know about, Dave. What exercises should I also implement with my workout to make sure? And out of all the athletes that I've ever had do that, I've never had an athlete have to sit out for any extended period of time that's in college. Now, ones that don't reach out to me and things like that, they probably get hurt. And they have been hurt. Because then all of a sudden they're calling me and saying, hey, what should I do? It's kind of late. Were you doing this? I'll ask them, and they're like, no. I said, that's where your weakness was. Why didn't you maintain and continue to work on that and improve upon it? And they said, I just didn't think I needed it because we have a strength program here, and I thought I was hitting it. Well, they found out they weren't. So as an athlete, you have to understand the body. You have to understand yourself. As a parent, you have to understand that just because you work really hard in the off season doesn't mean it's going to carry over for the whole season. Yes, it gives you a boost. It gives you what you need, but you got to continue to work even during the season. It's like math. Are you only going to tell your kid to do math in the summer, and then when it comes school time, I'm not going to do it? I mean, what kind of sense does that make? Okay? You have to constantly be engaged and continue to get better. Or reading. Reading's another one. Hey, I did all reading in school. Summer, I'm not going to read at all. Every single parent would be outraged. They'd be like, no, that's not. Well, what's the difference in between sports? You have to find time. You build the time in. Like I tell everybody, I have a routine to keep myself as healthy and as vibrant as possible. It's a non-negotiable. I keep it built into my routine. It's built in. I don't make excuses. No matter what else goes on, I don't make excuses for this. But we find the excuses. Well, they had homework, they had this. I understand that. I know life is busy, but you find the time. You go to bed earlier, turn these phones off, turn all that stuff off. Should be off by like 8 o'clock. Now, I know most kids are on until like 11 and 12 because nobody knows how to turn those things off. But you turn it off, get yourself in bed by 9. So, hey, I got to get up at 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to be in the workout. I'm ready to go because I'm still getting the amount of sleep I need. Now, understandable if you have a game and it goes later. Okay, well, then you readjust to that schedule and say, all right, I can't go in early that day. So you have to figure it out. You have to play with your schedule. But there's always time in the day. I guarantee if we took away the cell phones and stuff, you'd find a heck of a lot more time out there than you could possibly imagine, okay, and all the waste of time we do. But that's what we need to do. So, Coach James, one of the things that we stress with not only, making sure that they get in and work out, all right, is also making sure they take care of their nutrition. How important is that part even during the season?
That probably plays the even bigger part, especially when you're looking at, especially for the fall athletes, is probably the biggest one, especially with nutrition, because they're going into their heat acclimations, whatever you want to call it now, and you have all these athletes coming in and saying, oh, I pulled my hamstring, I pulled this muscle, I'm dehydrated, I feel terrible. Well, I was drinking all this water. Well, I know you and I, we both tell all the athletes, you're not actually hydrating your body with water. You need all these other supplements, minerals, salt is the biggest one we tell all our athletes. That's actually how you're gonna hydrate your body. And just eating an actual healthy meal, not whatever processed foods, and actually getting all these other vegetables, fruits, but making sure they're good for you and not just something out of a bag or any other garbage that a lot of our kids today eat, and we see a lot of it.
Yeah, and one of the big things I get with parents is, they have a tournament, so they just buy whatever's at the tournament or it's local. Pack it. Yes, does it take more time? Yes, but your health and nutrition and performance is the key. That's the problem we're running into in this country, that people don't take that importantly enough. And then you see the chronic disease, you see all these things that are going on, and then we wonder why. Well, it's because we're not taking care of it. Yes, it takes more preparation to cook a meal at home. It takes more preparation to go to the store and find the right stuff. Not just anything, not just out of a box and then heat it up. It takes time, it takes effort. I agree with you, we're all pressed for time. Me included, I got 2 daughters, I know. But we also take the time and say, hey, pack this. We're going to a tournament, pack this. I always pack my stuff, I pack my fruits, my vegetables, and usually some type of other thing, whether it's something I cooked the night before and I reheat it up or whatever. But that's what we do. And people look at us like we're crazy because they're hitting the snack bars, they're hitting McDonald's, they're hitting whatever other junk food they can accumulate. And then they wonder why, well, the performance is down. Well, you put that crap in your system, that's what you do. If I have a high octane car, okay, a Ferrari, Lamborghini, and I put, regular gasoline in, 87, probably not gonna run the best. It might run, but it's not gonna run the best. I gotta get the stuff that works the best, and that's what you gotta do with nutrition. And it's key. James, last question here. What's one of the biggest things that we see, with our athletes when it comes to in season is that they lack the most of? Besides nutrition and not working out, during the season, what's that one key thing that you see with them when you talk to them that they also lack?
I would see probably one of the biggest things is just the commitment is one of the biggest things I see, and to making the time to come in here like Coach Bricks had mentioned, and then just putting in the work to their exercises, not maybe putting as much effort into whatever we're giving them, and they're just kind of going through the motions. They're not committed to coming in here and getting better all the times, and they just kind of see it as a place to maybe just hang out with their friends, talk, and I'll do a couple exercises here and there, and not seeing what some of our higher athletes, our college athletes, they come in here and they come here to work. They work, they'll talk, hang out, whatever, but when they're doing their exercise, they're coming here to work. And they know what is expected of them every time they come here. And they leave and they know what they're gonna get every time they do come here.
Yeah, and I think the commitment thing is key, but it's not just commitment to coming in and working out. It's also the commitment to making yourself the best athlete possible. So it's with nutrition, it's with your sleep, it's if you need the supplements that you need if you're deficient in somewhere, it's with your schoolwork, all right, it's in with your family life. You have to be able to make a commitment to all that stuff, and it sounds overwhelming, but it's not. If you prioritize and you actually put everything into place and you put away all the electronics all the time, okay, like I said, I would love for you guys to time yourself how much you're on electronics a day, and I guarantee it's probably 2+ hours a day on your phones, if not more. Okay, parents, the same thing. I guarantee it. Imagine what you could do with that time if you cut that down and you're only on there for a half hour, only for the emergency things you need. Hey, I got to text this person, pull. That's it. I don't need to scroll all the time. You would be amazed at how much time you get back and how much better you be. Be committed. If you want to be that great athlete that wants to go D1, you have to commit to the whole thing. It's not just one thing, it's everything. It's the workouts, nutrition, it's the sleep. It's everything that goes into making yourself better. That's what's going to do it. Guys, reach out with questions, other topics you want us to discuss. Coach James and I will break it down, go into it. But if you have a discussion on this, comments, send them to us. Let us know. This is Coach Bricks,
Coach James.
for the Game Changers.